ado, let us get started here. Thank you all for joining us this morning for the Starting Government Contracting webinar. My name is Tommy Utz from the Illinois Small Business Development Center at Chinese Mutual Aid Association. Before we turn it over to Rita here for our presentation, I just want to tell you a little bit about our center if you're not familiar with it. SBDC at Chinese Mutual Aid. We provide no-cost business advising to new and established businesses throughout the state. If you're interested in no-cost advising services, whether it's help with a marketing plan, business plan, financial projections, we help a lot of clients apply for loans, grants, all sorts of services, all at no cost. It's a great program, and we have many other connections, such as Rita here, to our other centers throughout the state. You'll learn a little bit more about how the SBDCs, the PTACs, all these centers work together. We'll be adding in some links for more information. And if you're interested in registering, we'll ask you just to complete a short registration process, and we can follow up after the meeting as well. Just for some procedures, throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please use the Q&A chat here on Zoom, and we will get to all the questions at the end. There'll also be a short time if you want to come off mute and ask your question. That will be no problem as well. We'll save all that for the end. And with that, I'm happy to turn the presentation over to Rita Hawk here from the College of DuPage Business Development Center to tell us more about starting government contracting.
Great. Thank you, Tommy. Good morning, everybody. So as Tommy said, I am the program manager for the Illinois Procurement Technical Assistance Center at College of DuPage. It's a mouthful, so we use PTAC as an acronym to make it shorter. The first couple slides are just giving you an overview of the statewide network that we have. All programming is committed to the small business community. We run various activities from a webinar such as today to ongoing long-term advising with individual businesses. Historically, the simplest, what is a small business? Less than 500 employees. So as you can see, it's a fairly substantial business. The SBDC that Tommy is part of does work from the pre-startup position all the way to the existing. My program, specific for government contracting, is focused on existing businesses. You have 3 programming funding sources. So basically what this slide is showing you is we have an international trade center. I'll talk about just an abbreviated description of what they do, but they are federally funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. In Illinois, funded by Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. In my case, College of DuPage is the third party of the funding. In Tommy's case, it is the Chinese Mutual Aid Association. So we have what's called a host. So that changes. For the PTAC, the difference is the federal funder is Department of Defense or Defense Logistics Agency as the federal funder. And then again, Tommy's program, the SBDC, is still the SBA. So what does each program do that is available to you for assistance? All programming is available free of charge because of those grant funds. So this gives you a short bulleted overview of an International Trade Center or ITC. We have one at College of DuPage that can support Tommy's businesses. So if you reach out to Tommy and need that type of assistance, he potentially will refer you over to a different program for that expertise. We are, as I said, statewide, so there are programs, multiple different programs throughout the state. Then we have my program, the PTAC. I support the Chinese Mutual Aid Association because there aren't as many of us as there are of the SBDCs. So we all support multiple SBDCs, and that's why I am presenting today from a different host. And what I primarily do is government contracting. That is local, state, and federal. I specifically help with certifications as well. So the women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, physically disabled. We're going to touch on a lot of this today, so you will have a roadmap. At the end, Tommy is going to have this PowerPoint and he will share it with all of you. And then finally, this is a little bit about what an SBDC does. And again, it's very abbreviated. There's multiple other things that happen. And there are approximately 40 to 50 SBDCs in the state of Illinois. The PTACs, there's about 10 of us, and then those international trade centers, there's about 10 or 11 of those. So the specialized programs support more than one SBDC. All right, let's get into why you are all joining us today, starting government contracting. So the first thing I want to talk about is how can we connect you to opportunities? Governments must publicly identify what they're buying, right? They're using governmental dollars. So because of that, we have the ability, because of a service we have, to search that on behalf of our clients. What that means is you would register as a client. And again, Tommy referenced that we connect to the same system. So we would get you registered. Then I would say to you, give me keywords. Keywords are matching whatever the description is that the government agency released on what they're purchasing. So you would determine as the expert what you believe those keywords should be. We put those in, and our system searches over 2,000 governmental websites every day on behalf of our clients. If it has a hit, right, found something to match that day, you're going to get an email such as the right side. And the email gives you 2 links every time you get it. The My Bid Match in the first line, and then the second line is the date. So if you connect to the My Bid Match, you're going to connect to 30 days worth of your searches. So we will maintain 30 days worth, and that means you can come in and out when it's convenient to you. So that My Bid Match, the first day you get it, you should bookmark it because that's all you need. It's your customized URL in our system. If you don't want to see the 30-day view, then you would click on the date and it would jump right to that specific date on your behalf. If you said to me, Rita, I can only do work in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, we can reduce back the 2,000 to focus on only those 3 states. The system is designed to look at all local government, all state government, and all federal government. And so that is why it's so comprehensive with so many sites, and it grows every day. In your email, you will get an abbreviated listing of what we found. Please do not make decisions based on what you're seeing as a title. You really do need to click in to determine better, is this a fit for your business or not? Here is a vantage point of what you will see in that email. You'll see the My Bid Match. That's the one we're saying click on for 30-day notice or bookmark it so you can come in and out. Whoops. And that's what the 30-day will look like. It's going to load day after day after day. Where it says articles, that's the number of notices we have found that match your keywords, the criteria. The third column where it says red, it will indicate for you if you looked at it or not, because 30 days can start to feel overwhelming. Did I look at it? Did I not? And so you will be able to determine if you had looked at it or not. If you bypass the 30-day and go right to the date, and that is where we do want you to go, you will see line by line of what we matched on. The keyword is always on the right side. And the reason that is important is if you need it changed, right? We're using keywords, but if it's used in a different context and we connected you to something that is not applicable to your business, we want you to come back and let us know so we can help you clean that up and refine it better. So while we get it started, with the keywords. We may need to change it over time to really make sure it's a good listing for you. The left side is the agency. Historically, federal government will be at the top of the list. State and local will be at the bottom of the list. You will also notate where it says procure or bid. If you see bid, that's another way to indicate state or local opportunities. Procure is historically a federal terminology. Means the same thing, it's opportunity for your business. In the middle, that is your direct link to the source. Where did our system find it? Federally, it will be connecting you back to what's called the SAM system. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. System for Award Management. That is where the federal government identifies all of their notices of what is happening from a procurement perspective. What are they buying? So that is where we're going to connect you back to, but we will connect you to the specific page for the opportunity. So you're not coming just to a front page of a website, you're going right to that page. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible. It's at the point of reviewing these initially. We want you to connect in. We're hoping you can find the scope of work, performance work statement to make a go, no-go decision for your company. But this is where you may need to pull us in to help you really understand these as you're moving forward. That is why our services are ongoing and long-term. You can say, hey, Rita, can you take a look at October 26th and just tell me which one you want me to focus on. I'm the administrator of the system, so I can go in easily and find what you're seeing, and then I can give you an analysis and start to really help you understand and teach you how to look at these and respond to them. This system, 24 hours after we get those keywords, and we need a client registration in order to input those, so we would walk you through that. The system will start generating, and then at any point of needing a change, you just would send an email and we will input the change, and the change will take effect 24 hours later. Our system will send all notices, and that includes the award notices. So just as we're sending you the opportunities, we're going to send you who won and how much. And this is showing you again with a little bit more emphasis of that center link. You would click there. It may give you a secondary page where you'd have a second click. So it could be 2 quick links to get to that page of origination. So let's jump into what do you need to know to be a federal contractor. So over the last 4 to 5 years, the federal government has been working at moving to a single portal, and that is called System for Award Management, SAM. And so focus on it's SAM.gov. If you don't use the link from my PowerPoint, just remember you always want to either .gov or .mil, M-I-L at the end for anything federal. Once you start to get engaged, you're going to get a lot of consultants who are going to try and convince you they are government when they're not. Just remember, if you get an email and it sounds like government, 2 ways to tell if it is. If their email is .com, it is not. If at the very bottom they have unsubscribe here, it is not. So those are 2 quick ways. And again, we tell clients, just send it over to us and we'll give you the clarity needed right away as well. When you register in SAM, it is a requirement to do business with federal government. You must have an active registration in order to be eligible. So what that means is, while I can get my bid match started, that's information from me to you. If you found something federal, you really can't act upon it until the SAM registration is done. SAM is about your business, but it's also a little bit about the individual engaging in the system. So there's going to be a multi-step you will need to do to get registered. It is a one-time registration, and once a year you will have to renew it. The first registration, multi-step, may take a little time, but the renewal should take you less than 15 minutes every year. So how does that multi-step look? So I've given you a screenshot of the page so you can recognize, okay, this is what it should look like. It says SAM.gov very clearly. And then you're going to click on the sign in the first time. And the first step is you're creating an account for yourself, the person. So Rita Hockey went to sign in, scroll down, created an account for Rita Hockey, username and password. I identified it. Then I said, here is my second multi-factor authentication option that I choose. The two main choices are text code. We're all kind of used to that by now. And the other one is an authenticator app if you do have that on your cell phone. Whichever one works fine. Every time you as a person you log in, it's going to send you that multi-factor to ensure it truly is you. So that's step one. Once that's validated, and it's very quick, you're actually now going to sign in to the SAM system. So the first time you click on it, you create an account, it's validated, you come back to this page, you click sign in, now you actually sign in. So the second step is wanting to do what's called an entity registration. So this is now where you, the person, are registering your company. So the company registration. This has become a little bit complicated since last April, but new vendors coming in don't know the difference. And so it might be very simplistic for you. If you've been in SAM, it could mean a little convoluted approach, and that's where we can help you one-on-one. So you will sign in, and then when you sign in of your personal account, you will see Get Started. And so that is what you want to choose. What you're doing is Get Started is now entering the business information. And the end result is an active registration, but you also will be assigned what's called a UEI, Unique Entity ID. If you've heard of a DUNS number, that was the old system, and we transitioned away from it this past April. So the new system is all handled in one place, which is great. So when you do Get Started, there's going to be some questions you will have to answer. One of those is, what are you registering for? You're going to say all awards. I'm interested in contracting, period. It's going to ask you, are you a government? You'll say no. It's going to then say, tell us the name of your company and address. And so you'll type in that information. And then it's going to have scroll come up that says, checking millions of records. One of two things will happen. One, your business will come up in the list. So you'll see the name of your company and the address. You'll identify it as your company. You'll start to move forward. Another is your business will not come up. And it's not because of you, it's because of this transition. So if your business does not come up in the list, you're going to right then and there, and they explain it, create an incident. And what that is doing is you're informing them to manually add your company. In order to manually add the company, you will need to prove the company through two documents. And so this link where it says proof gives you the listing of what they will accept. One example is articles of organization or incorporation. So when you filed at Secretary of State, they sent back the form you filled in with the word filed on it. That's what they want, and that could be one document. So you will supply those, you will attach it right in the system, and you will hit submit. Now you will wait till you receive an email from, it's going to say GSA, General Services Administration. They are the federal agency that oversees the SAM. And it will say, we've resolved the problem. What they mean is, we've added your company in. So you will come back to SAM when you receive that email, and you're going to repeat the same steps. You'll do a sign in. When you get in, you will do Get Started. You will redo those steps. This time your company will show up in the list. You will identify or claim it, and then you will move forward to finish your SAM registration. When doing the SAM registration, you will need your banking information available. And the reason being is federal government wants to pay their bills electronically. So this secured data system is where they go to pay their bills. So they will ask you for your bank account and routing. They're going to have you create a secondary PIN within your registration, and that's called an MPIN, Marketing Partner ID. You're going to select what that is. 9 digits total. Alphanumeric is possible, no more or no less than 9, no special characters. And so what that is, it's an additional security measure. In SAM, you will do your first sign in, you will get to a page, you will not be able to move forward until you put that MPIN in. So it's just a secondary security measure. You will also identify your NAICS codes. So North American Industry Classification System. We give you the link. So if you've never heard of it or you don't know what your NAICS codes are, you can go off and do some research. Now, if you have an accountant, they picked a NAICS code. They picked your company falls under this industry. That's great because it's more of financial system utilization. For contracting, you're going to pick more than one code. And here's why. A contracting officer that's making a purchase, they're not an expert at the purchase they're making. And so they could select a different NAICS code than what you think that one is. And so that's what you're attempting to do. Just throw the net a little bit wider when you're doing your research in the system to determine what codes do I think might be applicable. You may review the definition of the code and may say, well, I could do one little piece of this. That's okay. Put that NAICS code in your SAM registration. So you're throwing the net based on a little bit of education, a little bit wider, right? We're not just putting in codes, but we're doing a little bit of thought behind it and putting in more codes than one. That is a listing that can change over time as you get connected to opportunities. So my system will push opportunities to you. You may review an opportunity and see what the NAICS code is and determine, oh, I don't have that code. You'll be able to go back to SAM and add new codes. So your initial list is a listing from your expertise, and it's not, the final. You can add to it over time. Each NAICS code, while it describes your business capability, is also aligning to whether you're a small business or a large business. So the SBA has what's called a size standard document, and it's every NAICS code, and then it has a size next to it. And what that means is this: if you are a product or commodity company, your size is based on the annual average number of employees. The smallest is 500. So as long as you're below 500 employees, if you're selling products, you're going to be a small business. If you're on the service side, it's based on a 5-year average of your sales, and then that varies based on industry. So this is an example of product, what you will see, and SAM is automatically making this determination for you when you're registering. So you can see this one example. These are product categories. And then on the right side, it's saying the business must have less than 1,000 employees, 500 employees to be considered small. Service will look like this. Same idea. The difference is it's sales versus employees. So a sales business can have 100 employees or can have 600 employees, but as long as they have, if the NAICS code is specific to this military and aerospace, as long as they have less than 41.5 million over a 5-year average, they're considered small because the employee number doesn't matter. It's only about the sales number. So products are employees, sales are, or service is a sales number. And that's automatically done for you as part of your SAM registration. They ask the question and they automatically identify. There's no formal small business registration needed. you potentially will be given the opportunity to register a small business profile as part of your SAM registration. That shows up at a different system. So we do give you that link so you can go and do some competitive research. Go out to the dynamic small business search, look around what other businesses are out there that I might be competing against. This is what you will see on the initial page after you fill in the filters you're seeking. What we're saying here is this, that you are going to complete your capabilities narrative. You're going to decide what this says. We're trying to give you an idea of what should you enter. So the first arrow is saying identifying you're certified to begin with is good. I wouldn't bother putting your company name because as you can see, it's all columned. So the company name is right there. Don't, take this landscape of writing and let's make it concise to the point, because if government is reviewing it, we want them to look at you. But if there's a whole paragraph, they're not going to bother reading it. So you really want to be concise and to the point. A keyword string of words could be very beneficial. You can see the second arrow, there's a blank. That means the person didn't understand and they didn't complete their small business profile. Now, because of the updates that were done in the SAM system, this other system wasn't updated. So there's been a disconnect in communication. So in SAM, you may come to the page and it says, we're sorry, the system is down. If you come to Eileen Kelly or I, that she was listed on the first page, she's a full-time advisor in the program, we will help you with the back door. Basically, there's another way in to this profile. We will help you get there, and then you can enter that information that way. So if you see in your SAM, it says the link is not working, don't worry about it. Once your SAM goes active, we'll help you go in another way to get this done. Basically, when you're in the dynamic small business search, either through SAM or directly, we want you to put in keywords, capabilities narrative, complete business type, and then if you hold any non-federal certifications, such as State of Illinois, Women Business Enterprise, or maybe you have IDOT-DBE, we want you to put those in. While this system was created for federal government to search for small specifically, we know that large corporations are using it as well, and they can use their own supplier diversity rules for utilizing companies, and that's why those non-federal certifications can be beneficial. We do give you the website for you to do the searching of competitive as far as who could you be competing against. Just because they're in this small business system does not mean they've pursued a solicitation or RFP or that they've won one, but it does make you aware of what others look like. Whoops. Now, just to give you a quick, short understanding of acquisition rules for federal government. A micro purchase is considered $10,000 or less. And why that's important is if a buyer is doing something that is valued less than $10,000, they can buy from anybody they want. That means large or small. There's no specific rule to those. And that's because it allows a military base to just go down the street to Home Depot if they need something. Those are a credit card only purchase. It's the only way they can make those purchases. Simplified acquisition is probably the best spot for small business. So that's exceeding 10,000, less than 250,000. That's where it's reserved for small business. And what that means is as long as they have enough small business participation, they will determine which small business group, and you will understand that later, will it set aside for, meaning I'm buying this and I'm going to set it aside for small business only. So that's why simplified acquisition is probably really that great spot for small business. There's a little bit more guarantee on that. Understand that, again, below 25,000, no advertisement is needed. So that means my system couldn't even find it if they don't release it somewhere. So the rule says $25,000 or more is required to be there. Many contracting officers still put it in and release it publicly, even though it's less than 25. But there, again, is no guarantee on that. Credit card could be possible, but that is really up to you at that point. GSA schedule. So this is a specific type of federal contract. Lots of consultants out there. They will tell you anywhere from $2,500 to $20,000 to help your business get this contract. The reality is PTAC can help you through it. You can do it yourself. Just to help you understand that this is a method that connected federal government to commercial off-the-shelf purchasing. So simple explanation, Department of Defense, the military for many years said what we buy is specialized, right? It's not a normal screw. It's not a normal widget. It's specialized to meet our needs. But then they realized there's lots of things they do buy that is not specialized. And so they had no effective method of getting to what's available in the commercial marketplace. This contract method gives them that. So for your understanding, you are being pre-approved. You can go after this GSA schedule contract at any point. You're offering to them your best pricing. It will take them anywhere from 4 to 9 months to go through a total review. Once they award the contract to you, it's a contract of no value. Basically, they're giving you the opportunity to sell, but they're not guaranteeing you any dollars. So once you get this contract, now you have to be more proactive. And again, your PTAC can help you identify past procurement for federal government, where you can start to reach out to individuals, do a marketing campaign, letting them know, here's who I am, and I'm on the GSA schedule. So we help you move forward from getting that contract to really trying to secure dollars against it. Businesses cannot be brand new for GSA schedules unless what they offer is extremely innovative. Otherwise, GSA does expect a fairly substantial level of sales. $75,000 to $100,000 in sales is probably what they're looking for. Their attitude is you are trying to sell to the largest buyer in the world. And so they want to make sure you could sustain their actions. So I referenced small business and the various, right? So here's what that means. There are different categories. So when you're in SAM, you're going to self-identify for some of these categories, but then there are formal processes for others. So you can get formally designated by proving whatever it is. So small business, 23% of federal spend must be set aside for small business. And that is done through your SAM registration. It's automatic. The next one, 5% of federal spend for what's called the 8A program. So the 8A is a business development program for federal government. And the simplest way to describe it is it's the federal government's version of a minority business or MBE that many have heard of. Big difference is this 8A is a one-time. So that means you can get it once, you will hold it 9 years, and that's it. Certifications can be renewed over and over again as long as you're eligible. The benefit of the 8A, the potential is sole source contracting by the federal government. So as you do your marketing to contracting staff, you can say, hey, I would love it if you would give me an 8A direct award. And they say, great, we're going to do it. And so that means you can win an award without competition up to $4 or $6 million in value. It sounds great, but it takes a lot of effort to get there. The next one is a 5% women-owned or economically disadvantaged women-owned. That one is another formal process. So the 8A is a formal process. The women-owned is a formal process. That means you must be certified by the SBA to be eligible for that category. The next one is 3% hub zone, historically underutilized business zone. Again, formal. It is about where your business is located. So we will talk about that a little bit. And then the final one, federal wide, is a 3% service disabled veteran owned small business. In SAM, as long as that's been designated, that was all that was needed for all agencies except the U.S. Veterans Administration. The U.S. Veterans Administration said, self-designation is not sufficient for our contracting needs, and so they had a certification or verification process. Starting next January, that goes away, and the SBA will have oversight, and they will do all the certification and verification. The transition has begun at this point, and so any business that is self-designated, so you register in SAM today, you identified service disabled veteran owned, that will be sufficient for a year because they know and they don't want everybody running to them the beginning of January saying, I need to get certified. So they're giving a grandfather period. We also help our businesses with government contracting through the corporations. And what that means is this. If a large corporation wins a contract from federal government and it's $750,000 or more in value, that means that that corporation has to apply the same goals the federal government uses for themselves. So they must have 23% small business, 5% 8A STB, 5% women-owned small business. So it's called a flow down. So those large corporations have to subcontract to those various categories. Not every corporation has federal contracts. So what we give you is the 2 links identifying who those large corporations are. I will somewhat forewarn you. You want to do your homework before approaching any of these corporations because each of them have different processes to be a part of their supplier diversity. And you really need to understand it. You need to implement and engage it. And then you can reach out to the point of contact. Because if you reach out to them before doing that, it's just going to end the dialogue. And then when you're able to say, yeah, I did it, you may not be able to reach them again. So we do say, get all of that done in advance and then reach out to them. So just to go back quickly, so we do help with who are the primes, what do they look like, helping you really understand what would my options be to try and be a subcontractor to these corporations. I will tell you, in my opinion, having done this so long, it is easier to sell to a governmental agency than it is trying to get connected to these corporations. You know, many times we hear, I want to sell to Boeing. Okay, but just understand Boeing probably has 10,000 in their directory. How are you going to race to the top? So it can be very difficult just because each corporation doesn't have a set of rules that is consistent amongst all corporations. So each does it a little differently. So it can be a little difficult trying to really be effective within these corporations. Okay, so that is your federal. What I just discussed is the minimums of what you need to do for federal government and understand. Now, state of Illinois, we help our businesses understand the registration process with state of Illinois. Other states, we're going to connect you to their opportunities as well, but we're going to connect you to the how to do business when you identify an opportunity. If you come and say, Rita, I'm interested in this one, that's part of what I'm going to look at is what are the specifics for that opportunity and what do we need to have you do to do business? So you would do things potentially simultaneously for other states. There are times other states will hit you with a penalty. And what that means is they give preference to in-state, and that means they may raise your bid 5% because you're out of state. And that's the type of information we want to make sure our clients know so they can make a good decision for their business. To get registered with the state of Illinois, it's really a potential 2 to 3 step process. So the first one is every business must have Board of Elections certificate. That means you're going to go to the website, you're going to register your business. It's about your business and the owner. And the basic premise is, have you given campaign contributions to a state representative? If you have, you cannot contract for a year. So you will do that registration. It will give you a certificate number and certificate. You will need that for the vendor registration. The second requirement is what's called an IDHR number, Illinois Department of Human Rights. Currently, it's only required for 15 or more employees. So as a company, if you have 15 or more, it's required. If you have less than, it's not required for doing business with the state of Illinois. But universities are using state funding and they may require it. So you're going to see some differing rules. Also, the Illinois Department of Human Rights Commission has determined they will change this rule to any business with one or more. So basically, that means all businesses will need to get an IDHR. They have not changed it yet, but we do expect at some point that will happen. Currently, we say not to do it. It's a $75 fee. We're hoping when they make everybody do it, maybe they'll remove or reduce that fee. We're not sure. So it is not what we would recommend to do if you do not need to do it. And then the step of you're going to register in the state's Illinois Procurement Gateway. It's called IPG. Think of it as federal government has SAM, state of Illinois has IPG. Some things you need to recognize that are different in this system. They'll want some W-9 information about the business. They're also going to want you to prove you're a small business. Federal government and SAM does not ask for proof. State of Illinois does. Proof is first page of your federal corporate return, first page of your state corporate return. Basically, you're showing that your business has less than what they deem the appropriate dollar or employee number. And how state of Illinois does it is, if you're a manufacturer, it's less than 250 employees. If you are in service, it depends on what type of service. It could be less than 10 million, less than 4, or less than 14. And I think it goes up to less than 19 million. So that is what you're proving, that your business has less than that in sales. If you're a brand new business, you could still register. You will write a letter, get your signature notarized, just stating you are below those thresholds. I started my business on this date. I'm not required to do a tax return. My sales are even zero, would be fine to move forward to get the registration. NIGP. So I talked about the NAICS code. So NAICS codes is a more understood industry classification system, 6-digit. Each one has a description, higher level industry description. NIGP, same idea. It's just less information is available, 6-digit. It has a title. It doesn't give you as much detail as far as what really falls under this code, but the title is sufficient for you to determine if it is a fit for you or not. You will have more than one code. And again, it's because buyers in the state of Illinois, they may select a different code than what you really see as expertise. It may be a code that's a periphery, right? You would say a little gray area, but they decide it makes more sense, they win. The codes right in the registration, you will just identify them at that point. There are many questions in the state of Illinois that you will have to address. Really read those questions. The way they wrote them, your gut says, I want to say no, but the answer is probably yes. And so That's my best advice. They kind of wrote them backwards to what we would think. And so they're asking you to affirm that you've not been convicted. So that's why when you see convicted or criminal, you may want to say, no, that's not me. But the answer is really yes, because you're affirming it does not apply. So that's my best insight on those questions. And then that is all you need to be registered for state of Illinois. State of Illinois has similar rules of less than, excuse me, $10,000. They can just reach out directly to vendors in the system and say, hey, are you interested? So that is the benefit of being registered in the state of Illinois system. Now, state of Illinois has what's called the bid buy. Federal government does everything through one system, SAM. State of Illinois has two. Illinois Procurement Gateway is the vendor system. Bid buy is the opportunity system. And so if you're unsure if you want to be a vendor, you could register in the bid buy and not register in the vendor system. The reason you want to register in the bid buy system is if an opportunity is produced and you want to respond to it, you're most likely putting the information in the bid buy system. So that is why we're having you do that registration and get it done early on. So you are ready to go should you get an opportunity to respond to. Anybody can look in the system. You don't have to be registered to look around. Our bid match will search this for opportunities as well. There can be specialized purchasing, and what that means is if it's Department of Transportation specific, roadway, highway, they're going to do their own purchasing. So if what you do is specific to roadway, highway, you really do want to look at their website and understand. Capital Development Board is about construction and renovation. Look at their website. And then self-funded is the Illinois Tollway. They really, because they're revenue generating, they can do what they want. They are historically not held to the state regulations. Okay, so that was your basic registrations. Now we move into the certifications. I referenced a little bit about what the federal is. We're just going to talk about a little bit more broadly and more inclusively. So certifications are really economic development of disadvantaged community businesses is the simplistic definition. There are set-asides, meaning a government will pull a contract and say it is set aside for women business, minority business. So it could be one or all. In order to be eligible, many of them have a formal process, and that means you have to be registered and go through an evaluation with that entity or with that organization. And I'm going to talk about the differences. Virtual site visit may be needed. So they used to physically go to businesses, but since COVID, they will do a virtual Zoom site visit. It depends on the level of government. It depends on who the potential customer is as far as what certification is recognized. The basic eligibility factor for any certification is it's 51% or more owned by the individual claiming socio. So if I'm a woman and I want to get woman business enterprise, my business must be majority owned by a woman. And so that is the really basic definition you can apply to almost any certification. So what are those organizations or entities doing the registrations? So local would be City of Chicago and Cook County. And what we've given is the acronym. So minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise. City of Chicago referenced it as business enterprise physically disabled. State of Illinois just cuts off that. They turn it around and it's physically disabled business enterprise. And then VBE is veteran business enterprise. Some will do an SD VBE, and that's service disabled veteran business enterprise. So what we're showing you here is based on those acronyms, who certifies for what. Now, it is very possible as a business, you may end up holding 5 different ones. Each one is targeting a different potential customer for you. You need to have the tool they want in order to be successful in selling to them. In the case of City of Chicago and Cook County, they recognize each other. So that is reciprocity. So you can get one or the other and sell to the opposite and they will recognize it. You don't need to get both. And the reason we point that out is they will charge $250, but the certification you hold will be for 5 years. The private certifiers are the Women's Business Development Center, WBDC. You would end up what's called with WeBank, Women Business Enterprise National Council. And what that means is you would get certified at our local level, Chicago office, but then the certification you receive is national. It is recognized anywhere in the country. This is the one that most corporations are looking for, but it is the most expensive at $350. And then every year there's a renewal fee. Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, they do MBE. Same thing that you would locally certify, but it will be a national recognition. Corporations are looking for this one. This one wins 4 fees. It's $500 and then renewal fee every year. But to really be successful with those large corporations, you will probably see they will identify these as their choice. And so that's where you have a decision to make on, do I move forward on these to really increase my chances? State of Illinois, it was Central Management Services. It just changed. We weren't even notified. We found out by accident. It's Commission on now all of a sudden it's a Commission on Inclusion. I know maybe it's Diversity and Inclusion. There's a new agency, fairly new, and so they're starting to transfer some activities there. The reality is it doesn't matter who you send it to. The process for now is still the same, but as a new agency taking it on, over time they could make changes. So for now, they will certify what they call the BEP program, Business Enterprise Program, and so they will certify for those acronyms. Disadvantaged business enterprise, that's a different terminology than you've heard, and it's transportation specific. So what that means is it's only going to apply to IDOT, Metro, PACE, CTA, City of Chicago. Now, they buy everything as much as any other agency. So even if you're not selling into roadway, highway, and what you do is consulting, you still may want to get DBE if you're eligible, because they could be buying it and they can only buy from DBEs. May not be all the time, but it is possible. DBE, the difference is it is socio and economic defined. Socio means the 5 minority groups, which are African American, Asian American, Pacific, Asian American subcontinent, Hispanic American, and Native American. Those are the 5. The 6th group for DBE is women. So basically what they've done is they've blended the two together to make a different kind of grouping. And that's socio definition for disadvantage. The other side is economic, and that means your individual net worth is less than 1.32 million. So it's about you, the person owning it, and removing interest. If you have a primary residence, they won't include that in your personal net worth. So you are identifying estimates of what your personal net worth is when you are applying for that program. This program, you apply to one of the agencies, so any of those listed, and when you get the designation, all of them accept it. So we normally point our businesses to Metro or PACE. They seem to do the fastest turnaround on the certification. And once they receive it, then they could sell to IDOT if that is where the opportunity is. SBE is a pilot program, small business enterprise, and basically your business must have less than 22 million in sales in order to qualify. Metra, PACE, and CTA are the only ones participating in the pilot program. And so if you don't qualify for DBE, that's okay. They can give you just SBE. If you qualify for both, they would automatically give you both. Federal government, as I've stated earlier, 8A, HUBZone, women-owned small business, veteran-owned, and then small disadvantaged business. So let me go through those. 8A, I talked about that, is a one-time 9 years. Again, it's socio and economically defined. Socio is just the 5 minority groups I identified. Women are not automatically included. And then the economic, the personal net worth is 750,000 or less, so much smaller. HUBZone, it means about where your business is located. And so the SBA, with oversight of all of these programs, they have a map. You type in your address. If your address is in a HUBZone, that's the first criteria. The second criteria is 35% of your employees must live in a HUBZone, not the same one necessarily. So the easy example to help you understand, if you're a home-based business and you are solo owned, you would qualify because your home is in the HUBZone and you live in that home. So that would be an easy qualifier and you could move forward as such. Women-owned, it's in the last couple of years, they formalized that as a process. SBA, again, has oversight. If you hold WBDC WeBank, and their letter has said you're also WOSB, unfortunately, they haven't been clear to explain to the women you have to go to the SBA website and upload that letter for the SBA to give you formal authority. So if you're in the audience today and you have certification from the WBDC as WeBank, and it also identifies your WOSB, there is another step you need to take to formalize that. Veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned. Up until this month, it was formalized through the VA if you wanted to sell to the VA. All other agencies, it was just the SAM. Now they have stopped that. So really the SAM registration is all you need till next year. And contracting staff does have the right to ask you for a copy of your DD2. All of a sudden I'm forgetting, I think it's DD250 or DD214, drawing a blank, and I apologize. And possibly your service disability letter. So just know they can validate that before they award to you. Small disadvantage, that is a self-designation when you're in SAM. And what that means is socio and economic, 5 minority groups, and you have less than $750,000 in net worth. But there's no formal process behind that one. So when you come to that box in SAM, you can check it. Where it would help you is trying to sell to those large corporations. That is one of the goal areas they have from the federal government. Whoops. So here's a little bit of that information specific about the women-owned. And then service disabled, while we're leaving it in here for now, just to help businesses understand, we will be removing this. So it's just SBA only as we go into that full-on transition in January. And then this is just giving you more detail to what I said. Now, going through a certification, what does that really mean? So what it means is you're sending documents, and the documents you're sending, you are proving you, the person who qualifies for whatever the socio group is, manage, own, and control the business. What we've given you here is the list of what state of Illinois asks for. Each certifier is a little different. State of Illinois is the most direct and simplistic, asking for just most recent of almost everything. Other certifiers could ask for 3 years of personal tax returns or 5 years of personal tax returns. So this just gives you a good understanding of what it means. What we do with our clients, once we understand who your business is, we'll help you customize the list to help you get started on go create your electronic file of certification documents. We can do a soft review of the appropriate documents to make sure you're supplying what they actually want. And then we can do a virtual meeting to help you on the day you want to do the online application as well. And finally, depending on what type of business you are, whether you're an LLC or corporation, there's other documentation that also is needed. We run into many times businesses have self-registered with Secretary of State and they never did the governance documents, and that's fine. We have lots of templates and we can help you complete what is needed so you are thorough and complete when submitting. This just gives you a breakdown of why do I send what I send? We get a lot of that. Why is it so intrusive of information? Well, the reason is you have to prove you own, control, and manage. And that's multiple different documents that will do that. So I just kind of give you a breakdown of when they are looking at owned, what are some of the documents they may look at? Control, what does that mean? You must hold the title of primary power. You have to be the president or CEO. If you're not, they're not going to give you the designation. And then here is a table we use to kind of really show you everything I said in a visual. So at the top is the various designations. On the left side are those organizations. If you are a women-owned small, you potentially have opportunity in the small category and the women-owned. They don't necessarily, they're not combined. Government has to say, I'm either setting this aside for small or I'm setting it aside for women-owned. So each of those could be a pathway of opportunity. And for everything you qualify and achieve, it could be another pathway of opportunity. And that's it. I've given you the contact information for myself and Eileen. We're happy to answer any questions. Tommy's going to help us do questions right now for any that have come in. Tommy, do you want me to read them or do you want me to do it?
I'm happy to read them. We have a couple in here already just throughout the presentation. One to start with, kind of going off of this questions tab. It looks like somebody said, I'm already liking the service a lot, looking forward to learning more on signing up and exploring opportunities. If somebody's interested in your services, best to just reach out on an email? Is that kind of your best process?
Perfect. Yep. Just send an email and we'll take it from there.
Great. Awesome.
And if by chance I say, oh, you need SBDC as well, I'm going to connect you to Tommy because we will dual advise, right? I'll advise on what I do. They can advise on what they do. So you can receive the different services simultaneously.
Great. Thank you. Next question, just a quick one. What is the registration cost for SAM?
Oh, good question. 0. So government is free. So that's another indicator. As I said at the beginning, you're going to get a lot trying to convince you of something that's not true. SAM is free. If you see any fee, get away from it. That's a consultant. And I'm sorry, I'll say trying to trick you. They're trying to make you believe something that is not true. Ask me, ask Eileen. We want to make sure you don't pay money unnecessarily. Government is historically free.
Great. Thank you. Next question. We might need you here, Effie, if you're still on, to come off mute if you want to explain this question a little bit further. Rita, the question is, if I'm not certified as a women-owned entity, I can check yes for registering. So when you're registering, I'm just trying to think through. Effie,
I think in SAM. So let me give that example and that might help. So when you're doing your business registration in SAM, you will check the box, women-owned, economically disadvantaged women-owned. if that's where you believe you fall. That's self-designation. But that doesn't place you where you need to be for formal to go after women-owned set-asides, right? So you're identifying the company. I'm just saying this is who I am. But if the federal agency released an opportunity that said women-owned small business set-aside, if you didn't do the step of SBA in the middle, you can't go after that one. So I think that might give clarity, and same with state of Illinois.
Great. Yes, I think that'll help. Thank you. Next question here. Someone in Dallas, Texas, what is the best way to get registered?
So I'm glad you're asking that. We always assume everybody's from state of Illinois. So if you are not from Illinois, unfortunately, I can't help, but I will get you connected to your P-Tech partners in Texas. So because we are not only statewide, we are a national program. There's lots of me throughout the country. We're just going to get you connected to that organization. They will talk you through their process and take you through their registration. So again, feel free, email me and I'll get you connected with the right point of contact.
Great. Thank you. Next question. Where are you, at College of DuPage campus or further west in Lisle or Naperville?
Okay, great question. So we moved off of campus. Oh, I bet you it's going on 13 years ago now. We were originally in Lisle. We are now downtown Glen Ellen. We are located in the Village of Glen Ellen Civic Center. But currently, we are still only seeing clients virtually, and we do everything by appointment because we do spend time with each client in a customized fashion.
So I'm going to put your contact information on this last one, and then we'll, I guess, just do one last call. If anybody has any more questions, please put them in the chat. Like I mentioned, also, we will be sending out the presentation slides as well as this recording, and you now have Rita's contact information here as well as mine in the chat. So if you have any more questions, we're always here to help, and we would say, yeah, reach out anytime. We'd be happy to walk you through the process, getting started, connect you with the right people. All right. Well, I think, oh, yeah, you are very welcome, Effie. Thank you, everybody, for being with us this afternoon. We look forward to continuing the conversations with you if you are interested. Thank you, Rita, so much for providing that great information. And we hope to see everybody at our next webinar.
Great. Thanks, Tommy.
Awesome. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. Bye, everyone.